Here is a Midea box fan. It's not intrinsically a mainstays fan. There may exist a variant of this sold under Mainstays, but Mainstays is just a Walmart store brand. They don't make products, they don't manufacture anything, they're not a company, it's just a store brand. So don't go through and tell me this is a Mainstays fan, because it's not. There may be some sold under Mainstays. That does not make this a Mainstays fan. I'm sure somebody will still tell me it's a Mainstays fan, but such is life. According to the tag, this is the box fan, model FB50-16HP, GD Midea Environment Appliances, Company Limited, 0.5 amps. And it's from November of 2016. Oh, made in China. Ooh, great. So, I got this a couple of years ago, real cheap, just really out of curiosity. I went into this with very low expectations, and much to my surprise, it kind of exceeded my expectations. I guess I shouldn't be totally surprised, because from my experience, any any Midea product generally doesn't stink, but this just seemed like a terrible design. And it is, to a number of degrees. The serviceability is horrific, the motor is stamped shut, and no oil ports. It's non-serviceable. It is truly a fully disposable product, which is really quite a shame, because there's a lot of plastic on there. It's almost all plastic, and that'll all just be sitting in the landfill for decades and decades, because people throw these out after a year or two of use. Somehow that's supposedly saving the planet compared to using an old appliance. I have absolutely no idea how, but that's the claim. So with that in mind, these fans, from what I've heard, they get a lot of commentary about the blade set. Oh, the blade is too thin, blah, blah, blah. And I'm not sure that that's really the problem. There's definitely problems with this fan, but I don't think the blade set is necessarily what should be attacked. There is something to a thin blade. Even if we go back like to mid-century and look at some reputable fans, like for example Freshened Air or Roto Beam, they made these fans with very thin blades, and they worked great. Now, of course, those blades were, I'm sure, much better aerodynamically than these blades are, but it's along the same general concept. In more recent times, we had also from Midea, we had that big, I don't know if it was an 18-inch or 20-inch stand fan that was sold under the Hampton Bay name and a few other names, and that had a blade kind of similar to this. It was 5 white blades, very thin and narrow like this one was, and it worked pretty well. I think the main issue with this fan is the guard. The guard is exceptionally thick. The spaces are very thin in between. The plastic is thick. At least it's circular, I'll give it that much. It's got a gigantic thing in the front blocking a lot of the air. The back guard is just as bad, really. It's still pretty thick. Got all sorts of blockage around the motor, preventing the air going through correctly. All plastic around the motor on the inside. I mean, I can't imagine how this motor must run. It doesn't seem to me like they'd be getting much of any flow through there. However, there actually is something kind of interesting about this. You can't see it here with the guard on, but on the inside of the hub of the blade, there are fins to draw the air through. So maybe it doesn't run hot. I don't know. I can't imagine those little fins do all that much, but you know, sometimes things are surprising. So let's go ahead and plug this thing in. I'm gonna have to move it. I'll move it over here because that's where the power is. I'm still fighting with lack of a good recording area here. Recording in the garage just because this is the only area that's not a complete and total disaster. But certainly it's not ideal in here either. There's not much power. The air conditioner is going to lose its place, but yeah, we don't need it today. Okay, so this is plug up now. And let's go ahead and turn this thing on. Get the camera in line here. And we'll start it up on the low. It has rubber on the bottom of the feet, but it's very kind of hard, although it's a little bit sticky, still not sticky, but it's got a decent grip to it. So here's the low, and it's not too loud. It's not what I would consider to be quiet, but it's not too bad. Of course, we're also in a large garage. If this was in a smaller, like a bedroom or something, it would be a lot worse. If I go to the other side of the room here, which is about 25 feet, I can feel air moving. It's not a tremendous amount of air, but the air is moving. It's certainly moving more air than that ridiculous aerospeed thing was. And the blade is actually in very good balance. Quite satisfactory. I don't feel much of any vibration at all on this speed. Medium. Unlike a lot of other modern VMs, there is a pretty decent range and speed. And this is getting to be pretty loud for the air moved. This is not quiet by any means. But the airflow is at least satisfactory. There's a pretty decent amount of air moving even all the way across the room. Okay, now we'll go to the high, which of course is very loud. It has kind of like a restricted sound to it, which I suspect is from the guard more so than the blades. I'd be curious to run this thing with the guard off, but it's so difficult, I'm not even sure it's worth the time. It's not terrible. It's really not. The air output is not terrible. It's not a metal blade box fan, but it also doesn't aspire to be. It aspires to be a cheap piece of junk. And I mean, for a cheap piece of junk, it's loud, but the air is moving, and it's moving an acceptable volume of air. And off. It seems like the bearings are fairly satisfactory. Actually, they're pretty good. They're quite good.